Hello, everybody. It is Saturday morning. We are on our way back home to North Carolina, and as a traditional thing that we do when we have to stay somewhere overnight and head back, we hit a Cracker Barrel. So we just got done with breakfast at a Cracker Barrel on the eastern shore of Maryland, and we're getting ready to start the long drive home. But we figured we'd do a quick Dover recap video because a lot happened yesterday. It was probably, I know for me, it was the most challenging day that we've had on the track since I've been with Rise Motorsports. For Tim, I don't know if it was like one of the top 10, top 5 most challenging days he has. Tim has a love-hate relationship with Dover and the fact that he loves to hate it. Monster Mile has not been good to him. And
now people believe me.
Yeah. So we're just going to talk a little bit about everything we went through yesterday. But first, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. We had a co-sponsor this week with the Max Buchanan Foundation. So we want to thank them for being on the car with us. We had Max's mom and sisters in the pit box. We had 6 Rutgers Naval midshipmen escort the car out to the starting grid. So if you want to learn more about the Max Buchanan Foundation, go visit maxbuchananfoundation.org. We also want to thank our primary sponsor, National Police Association, NPA, for supporting us and continue supporting us and being on the car for Dover this weekend. Also want to give a quick shout out to David Wright. He works closely with the Max Buchanan Foundation and Rutgers Naval ROTC. He helped coordinate everything we did Thursday. We went to Rutgers, and then we went to a Boy Scout troop to show off the car to some Boy Scouts. So thanks, David, for coordinating everything. All right, Dover, let's jump into it real quick. So, Tim, you want to start and talk about what we found when we unloaded the car yesterday?
So when we unloaded the car, we saw a water leak. At first, I assumed it's just from hitting it with the cool down and venting it out a little bit and kind of bleeding the radiator. So a few minutes later, it was like a steady drip. And, well, then I found a hole in the freeze plug, in the front freeze plug. And that's no easy task at all, and that's not actually something you ever do at the track. So in the position it was behind everything on the front of the motor. So I had to spend all day literally taking everything off the front of the motor. That meant the water pump, the alternator, all of our belts and pulleys. And then when we took the freeze plug out, we found a hole in the freeze plug, just kind of old and worn out and had some corrosion in there and kind of got a couple of pinholes in there. So then we had to JB weld it and get it back in there because, we never quit, right? And we always rise above any obstacles that we have. So we got it JB welded, put everything back together, and managed to, get the car done on time for the start of the race. And just because there are no quit, but that was truly like one of the most challenging things I've ever done at the track. All the things like that have happened in my career, that was probably number one. That in that situation, you don't typically succeed. And well, we succeed. Everybody kind of, got together and did their thing. Rick and Rita focused on all the driver stuff that they need to focus on. And I had plenty of help to stay focused and working on the car.
All right. Yeah, we fully anticipate having a really good car coming to Dover with setup and everything. We were looking to have a good day. So after we had that issue, we finally got the car out to the grid. Took the green flag. We had Rita behind the wheel taking the green flag. So Rita, you want to kind of talk about what happened?
Yeah.
What with that?
First off, I had a lot of fun with autograph sessions and an optional Q&A session where I got to talk about the NPA and what they do for law enforcement across the country. That was really great. I got to meet some New Jersey correctional officers and a bunch of retired cops, and one of them even gave me a challenge coin. That was fun. Not so fun part was getting called into the ARCA hauler before the start of the race and having the president of ARCA sit me down and say, you weren't able to get out for practice and qualifying because we had the engine we had to rebuild. And we don't feel comfortable with you racing at Dover, which is it's a pretty treacherous track without having seen you in practice.
They don't call it the Monster Mile for nothing.
Yeah, and I was disappointed. And they said I had 3 options really. I could try to race, and they're going to park me at a minimum speed after about 2 or 3 laps because realistically, I needed the practice to be able to get up to speed and learn the track. I could start the race, get credit for it as a driver, and then switch off and have Tim finish the race. Basically take the green flag and come in before I get lapped. Or I could have Tim start the race and complete it. I chose to at least try and do 1 lap of the race. I don't like to give up, and it'll set me up for a good position next year when I take on Dover, and hopefully have practice.
All right, so that's why we had the driver switch. So Rita took the green, immediately came in, and then we had to do the driver switch. Tim get in, so that put us about 18 laps down to start the race, just getting everything switched over, which we already kind of expected. So, Tim, I can't even imagine how challenging it was for you to spend the entire day working inside and under the car, and then find out last minute.
You're driving.
I can only imagine how mentally and physically exhausted you were to find out. You got to jump in the car and drive now with no practice, no qualifying.
And you've never been to Dover as a driver before?
Yeah, so it's a new track for you. So you just kind of want to touch on your thoughts and feelings when you found out you had to get behind the wheel, and then what happened once you got in the car and on the track.
So when they gave me the news that I was going to have to drive, as you can imagine, working on a car all day long, at that point I was exhausted. And it's one of those rare times where, oh man, I got to get in the car and go race. I wasn't looking forward to it, to be completely honest with you. I would rather have let Rita drive that one rather than jump at the opportunity of driving. So one of the challenges with that is when we had to do the driver switch, it took us like 18 laps to get situated there. And by the time I went out there, I'm going out there in cold tires. The entire field's already at speed. Everybody's situated. Their tires are warmed up. And then you go out there and you have to get in traffic with cold tires. And having never been there before and having to get situated, eventually I did get situated and got really up to speed. And then I ended up coming out of turn 2 and went straight in the wall. Car shot straight up. Nothing I can do about it. At first, I thought I had a right front tire go down. I brought it in and went to infield care. Safety went through the car. NASCAR safety did a fantastic job of doing their investigation, and they looked and found that the lower radiator hose had come off and spewed water all over my right front tire, which is why I had absolutely no control, nothing, shooting straight up in the wall, which makes a lot more sense because there was no thump of what usually happens from a tire carcass, like spinning on a tire. And so that was a heartbreaker for the end of the day, especially all the work that our team put into it. And we made sure that we were there. We made sure there were so many opportunities during the day that we could have just said, hey, we're done. But as a team, and we owe it to our sponsors, I owe it to our drivers, our sponsors, all of our supporters to never quit. And so that's what we did, and we rose to the occasion.
Yeah, and I can tell you from the spotter stand, when he came out at 2 and immediately shot up into the wall, I got on the radio and was just letting the pit crew know, we just blew a right front, because it had all the telltale signs of a right front blowing. But thankfully, he hit the wall pretty square on the right side and not at an angle, so the damage is just really cosmetic body damage. It's not terrible. So
have it back up ready for Kansas.
So we are gonna head home, get to North Carolina, unload the car, and start getting ready for Kansas with Brayton Laster behind the wheel next week. So we're going to be ready. All right. Have a great day, everybody. We are heading home. See ya.